Greetings everyone, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, here to bring you another retro review from past seasons of The Loud House. In today's video, we take a look at the episode that not only caps off the first season of the show, but could also serve as an overall finale to the series as a whole. Today's episode is titled Homespun. First we'll discuss the plot, and then my thoughts and critiques with my final score. So, let's get right into it. In this episode, the kids hunker down in the basement when an impending tornado threatens to destroy their house. Although they initially think the house getting blown away would be to their benefit given the bad times they had, they also reminisce about the good times they had with their house and regret wanting it gone once the tornado finally comes through. Luckily, the house survives and everyone agrees there's no other place they'd rather be than the one and only Loud House. Well, that concludes the plot of the episode, so now we come to my thoughts and critiques. There's only one word I can use to describe this episode, and that word would be finality. I always get the feeling this was intended to be the final episode of the series if it never got renewed for more seasons, and it certainly gives that impression the way it was presented. Obviously, this episode aired months after it was announced another season was in the works, and yet if the series ended right here, we would have never gotten more of our all-time favorites. So, in a sense, I'm glad Homespun wasn't the final episode of the series, but that's beside the point. In a way, I tend to see this episode as a parody of those clip shows other programs use when they're near the end of a season. I say that because most of the episode is told through flashbacks, some being in the form of backstories like the first time Bobby came to their house. However, none of the flashbacks are taken from any of the previous first season episodes, unless the flashback featuring Lincoln sitting in the dining room with his older sisters counts as a reference to the episode A Tale of Two Tables. It raises questions on when some of these flashbacks may have taken place, like the time they painted the house for their parents' anniversary even though they already celebrated that anniversary in the episode Picture Perfect. It would have made more sense if Lily hadn't been born yet when that paint job happened, but I guess it's not that big of a deal in the long run. Either way, the flashbacks were the highlights of the episode. Some of my personal favorites include the one where the kids roleplayed as characters from their dad's Pioneer Boy books to entertain themselves when they had no cable, and the one where they indirectly turned their backyard into a swimming pool after clearing out water from the basement. The flashbacks served as the basis for the moral of the story, and that would be learning to appreciate what you have and learning to see the good times to be had in spite of all the bad things that can happen, and yet in everyone's defense, I can see why they originally had no second thoughts about their house getting knocked down. Lincoln and the rest of his sisters showed how the house has a lot of things structurally wrong with it, including multiple water issues, a broken doorbell, paper-thin walls, creaky and rotted floors, and pretty much every handle and knob on the doors breaking off at the most inconvenient of moments. It's understandable why they would want to move into another house where they believe those problems would no longer occur, but who's to say those problems wouldn't happen again in a new house? Every house requires constant upkeep, and they say their parents insist on fixing everything themselves. I have reason to believe the problems they wanted to get away from in their old house would happen again in their new house thanks in part to their parents, but can you honestly blame the parents and their actions? For a family of 13 living on a budget and knowing how expensive it is to hire technicians and contractors, saving money by doing the repairs yourself is a very common thing, no matter how ridiculous some of the results can be following that DIY maintenance. Then again, the parents chose to have 11 kids and raising kids costs a lot of money, so yeah, I think you know where I'm heading with this one. But regardless of their justified complaints about their home, they still remembered all the good times and perks it had to offer. For example, they can't afford to buy a regular pool, as somewhat mentioned in the episode Link or Swim. When you really think about it, indirectly creating a temporary pool from basement water at the cost of $0.00 was actually a convenient stroke of good luck. Some more of their bad becoming good fortune also resulted in a temporary indoor winter wonderland, free pizza, and even resupplying toilet paper in an instant because of a hole in the bathroom floor, which Lynn makes very clear she enjoys above anything else. Seriously, once that tornado passed, her first concern was making sure to check the hole in the bathroom floor. Translation, you guys check out the rest of the house and I'll make sure the toilet still works. Wow, is all I can say. So yes, the good memories they shared in their house greatly outweighed all the bad ones, and coming to regret their earlier desire to have that tornado destroy the place that created those memories really struck them in the feels. In the end, they were extremely lucky their house survived despite how damaged it was, and the ending was really clever in terms of storyline subtext. I see the final minute of the episode as a visual metaphor of how the kids' love for their home and the memories they made there were strong enough to withstand any storm, in their case a tornado, and indeed it proved to be a classic example of how love conquers all. Yeah, that one guy thought their house got hit hard, and yet the kids say their house always looked like that, and they wouldn't want it any other way. Well, maybe they would want doorknobs that actually work the way they're supposed to, but it's still their home sweet home. Overall, even if this is not the official final episode of The Loud House, the way the story played out gave the impression that this was how the show would have ended, and on the merits, it does have a sense of finality to what could have been a one-off 26-episode series. The kids came to appreciate what they had instead of wanting to destroy it all, no matter how justified their grievances were, learning to take the bad with the good, and how making the best of horrible situations can have its share of downfalls and benefits, as seen during the flashback highlight reel. If anything else can be said, I would summarize what Lincoln said just as the tornado started, and that would be, despite all the problems you have with your home, it's still the special place that shaped you into who you are, and no other place can come close to replicating the loving memories you created there. Houses come and go, but the nostalgia it contains can last forever. With that said, I give Homespun a 9.7 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of Homespun. It may not be a perfect episode, and it may not be a perfect finale, but for a show like The Loud House, it fits the mold on what closing the book would have looked like. The family embraced what might have been their last ride in their old home, and then being fortunate enough to continue their adventures in that old home, leaving the book open for many more years to come. Love or condemn what happens later in the series, it's impossible to hate this episode for what it was, but as always, it's just my opinion. But anyway, as far as this episode goes, what did you guys think of it? Love it? Hate it? Something you would add? Change? Keep it as it is? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to this channel for the latest Loud House content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.